Hello and welcome to the School of Health Freedom. This is our first class, aside from your introductory course of the Self-Reliant Medical. Did you like that? The Self-Reliant Medical, just so you know, is geared towards telling you what kinds of things you can purchase, because one thing about being able to take care of your family is understanding the body, knowing how to then take care of it, but it's also about having the supplies. And so the school did make it possible for you to be able to do group buys and things. If that helps you, great! Get all of your neighbors involved and get them all the supplies and things they need, and then teach them what you've learned so they know how to use those and have their supplies. If it's something that you're not interested in, don't worry, the rest of the presentations are all about teaching you and the body, and then if you do have orders that you want to send in, just give me a call and I will help you with those. Today we are learning about the body. This is called Introduction to the Body, the human body. And I added this because in previous quarters there were people who hit the ground running with all of the new herbal information, and I guess they just didn't have the basic groundwork here. So this is going to be review for a lot of you. I have a lot of nurses, medical practitioners of all kinds who come in and do these courses, and if this is just review on a basic level for you, maybe it'll still, as you're listening, trigger something and remind you of what you've been taught before. That's what it did for me when I was preparing this. So Introduction to the Body. Basic anatomy. I'm actually starting with the spirit. These courses, as many of you know already, are these are going to be based on God and His principles. This is going to take a religious point of view, and I love all religions. I just love everybody who is trying to come closer to God, and I'm Christian and I believe in Jesus Christ and faith in Jesus Christ, and so I'll be talking about that. I really hope that it doesn't offend you in any way, and if I present things in a way you don't believe, then I have compassion for that, and just take and glean from what I'm teaching you what is right for you and what you are ready for at this time. I totally respect all of your beliefs and all of your feelings. And for those who are in the healing world, you are probably going to hear some things that are going to be different than medical school will teach. And so glean from those, and if you do love to pray and ask Heavenly Father about things that you learn, I encourage that, and I ask you to bring all of this to God. Ask Him and learn everything with that filter. I believe it's the Spirit that can be there and can testify to you of what is true, and I want you to know that these things are true and to be able to decipher what is and what isn't on your own. And so what I present is the best of what I've been able to learn, and I hope and I know that a lot of this is going to be wonderful, not only as a review for some of you, but you're going to receive a lot of inspiration during this time. Basic anatomy, the spirit. So our bodies are intelligence and matter that are organized together. Our spirits receive light and intelligence. The spirit is a refined form of organized matter. Flesh is matter organized from element, which comes from the earth. So it is a different kind of matter. It's not as refined. The element of the earth, I almost picture it as maybe something that's larger. Our atoms are probably larger that create the elements than the organized matter of the spirit, which is more refined. Energy begins and ends in the spirit. Where there is light, energy is generated. Where there is darkness, energy dims. To obtain optimal health, the whole spirit must be full of light. Why do I talk about the spirit first? Because the spirit is the beginnings of either health or disease. And so you really need to go there. And when people talk about emotional healing as a necessity, even Dr. Young, with all of his research in cancer reversal, he said if he does the best of what he can offer on the physical level, people still sometimes hold on to emotional things or spiritual things that need to be healed. So we go there first, and the spirit needs to be full of light. There's a whole bunch of course work out there that you could do, and probably someday I'll be doing some of that, and that would deal with energy chakras and how much of that actually is correct in the realm of truth and in healing and the energy of the spirit and the things that would cause us to be disaligned in any way. Just know, in essence, the umbrella covers it all. You must be full of light in order to heal at your highest potential and in order to have and achieve the most vibrant health. Spiritual healing, turn to the Savior. All modalities and products that help cleanse and nourish with light for the spirit must also turn the soul towards the Savior to heal. It is through faith in Jesus Christ that all healing comes, in His time, in His wisdom, and by His power. The solution to everything is faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. So in the next class that I'm really excited about, it's Vibrant Health, I found an article that I'll be sharing with you, and you can look it up ahead of time if you'd like. If you go online and just Google Richard G. Scott, he is an LDS General Authority who spoke in the LDS General Conference of April 1994. That's the year I graduated high school. And he has a talk called To Be Healed. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that in the next class. But if you want to just jump in and get a head start, I think you would love it. And you don't have to be LDS to love it. It is beautifully worded, and I believe that all congregations would love how he's delivered with such great respect for all mankind. And it talks about Bible principles, and it's beautifully done. The creation of the human body. So I just thought we might as well start where it began. A fertilized egg is called a zygote. You're not going to be tested on this. It's for your information only. It starts as a single cell where the union of sperm and egg combine genetic information to complete a full panel of 46 human chromosomes. Why is it important to know this? Because when you come in contact with trials that are genetically embedded in a person, you need to know what is normal and what science has found already that is the normal organization of the body. Endowed with power, perfect order and direction, written in the chromosomes and by direction and inspiration of the Spirit, this one cell obediently carries out the next phases of growth, exhibiting miraculous energy as it divides and multiplies with seeming great joy for life. I remember when my daughter was in womb, Veronica. She's here in the background, so if you hear her sweet noises, that's her. And I just felt like she had this great joy for life as she was developing and growing. And you look at how miraculous it is that one cell divides into 4, and then it goes to, so soon 2 cells become 4, and 4 becomes 8, and 8 becomes 16, and so it grows exponentially until this ball of cells traveling to the uterus implants a group of cells from an embryo, while the rest differentiates and create a home for the developing embryo. So in essence, this group of cells splits into baby and then baby's home. A home of protection in the mother's womb where every nourishment and need is met to provide the elements and energy to continue developing. Our bodies are made to procreate, and this power is so sacred and so miraculous. And if you understood the miracles that take place just to create the body, it starts to help you understand the body and its power to be resilient. Your body is so resilient, and with faith, anything can take place in your favor and in the right time. And when you align with the laws of nature and health, and when you've learned the lessons that you need to learn at that time in your progression, then your whole body, it just has potential to heal in miraculous ways, just the same way that one cell becomes a human body. It's mind-blowing. So the cell is the basic unit of all life, the simplest structure known that shows all the characteristics of life. So the characteristics of life require organization, metabolism, responsiveness, homeostasis, growth, and reproduction. So the cell does all of these. And if you think of how many cells, the billions of cells that you have in your body, every single one of them do this. Every single one of them can sustain life. You put them in a little petri dish and observe them, and they're alive. They don't need all of the rest of the organs or the other cells in the body for that one cell to be alive. It is a basic unit in and of itself. Here is a picture of a cell, and just for fun, kicks and giggles, we'll go over the structure of it. Right here is what's called the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Here is the nucleus. Here is the nucleolus, which is right inside. It's so funny, it almost looks like this egg yolk, right? and you've got the whites out here, and you've got the egg yolk in the middle, and that's the nucleolus, and then the egg white part is the nucleus. And just as the human body has a brain, really a lot of that function is happening right here in the nucleus. You have the nuclear membrane, which protects the outside, which is funny because your body has several different protective barriers around the brain as well. And the Golgi apparatus right here, almost like a digestive system. The mitochondria, which is where the energy is made in the cell, and the microvilli. This is something that helps it to move and to interact with its environment. This is a peroxisome right here. This is a ribosome. This is a vesicle. You know, the vesicles are like little garbage bags, and then they go to the edge of the cell, and it just gets rid of all the garbage, and all that garbage goes into the fluid that we call the interstitial fluid, and that interstitial fluid is in the bloodstream. And then you've got this thing we'll talk about more called the lymphatic system, which is kind of like the big garbage service of the whole body. It's so miraculous. I mean, we just have this whole city and municipal system inside us, and it's part of life. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes, and cytosol and centriole. I do encourage you to go in, you can just go online actually, and if you want to know more about the cell and what all of these things do, go research it. It is fascinating. It's not required for this class, but it is so fascinating. You have to do it. It's so much fun to learn about the body, and all the information is up there. The next thing is the cells then group together and form tissues. The groups of similar cells all join together. They are organized in characteristic patterns, and they are specialized to perform specific tasks. Sounds like a company, right? It sounds like a whole bunch of organized things working together, and the amazing thing about it is each one of those cells and each tissue group, they are obedient, and they're obedient to the brain, and they're obedient to the other laws that govern them. And all of those laws that govern them are all encoded from the one cell that divides into 2, into 4, into 8, into 16, makes its own home, makes its own embryo, develops into a baby. And all of this obedience to the order that is written becomes a body that continues the order and the obedience of following all of these laws. And because of that, you have life, and because of that, you have health. Wherever there is disobedience that happens within the body, or let's say deficiencies as well, then you just don't have enough supplies for it to do its job, or some of the directions in the body got changed somehow. And usually when the directions of the body get changed and something like cancer, for instance, develops, it's because of, we're going to get a little bit deep in here, so stay with me. There's called these trophoblast cells, and just like other cells, a trophoblast cell has a specific function, and they are supposed to break down cancer cells, because your body creates cancer cells and other kinds of cells constantly. It's a natural part of our existence here, but trophoblast cells are supposed to break them down. And if there is a darkness in that area of the body, and enough of a disobedience to the laws that were originally written in DNA, then you can get a situation where either cancer cells are developing too fast for trophoblast cells to break them down, or the trophoblast cells aren't doing their job in that area. And there's a whole lot that goes into that, so I'm not going to say that that's the one thing that you need to know about cancer and that's all you need to know. That is a tiny, tiny little smidgen of information about it. So just keep in mind that cells and the order that they create, and then how they create tissue and how that tissue works together in unison, that is the miracle of life that we're looking for to maintain after it's been created that way. Skin or epithelial tissue, that's an organized set of tissues. Connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nerve tissue. And we'll actually talk about that when we talk about the different systems of the body. So here's some images of tissues right here, just examples that I love, and I'm going to come around. So in the human body, you've got skin tissue, you have different kinds of tissues for the throat. They all look different. Here's your kidney, and here is digestive tissue, and blood is considered a tissue because it is circulating. And just look at all these different ones. Muscle is amazing. It's like these big strands. They almost look like all these different kind of candies that you can buy at a candy store. These different ways that everything's organized. And the miracle is that we're looking at one cell, again, the zygote, that forms all of these specialized tissues. It's miraculous. So there you go, the next miracle of life. Organs. So with your organs, you have the brain. We have the brain, the pharynx, the larynx, the heart, the arteries of the body, the muscles, the liver, gallbladder, kidneys. Your skeletal system is an organ system, intestines all together, lymph nodes, which is part of that amazing lymphatic system that I was talking about. It's the detoxification system, the garbage dumping system. Your lungs, which is where your first breath of life comes from. Your spleen. Your spleen actually carries a lot of extra blood, which is why you have a reserve of blood, so that if you start losing blood too fast, you have a little bit of a storage right here, which is nice. The bone marrow, is part of the skeletal system, the stomach. The veins around the arteries, the veins return blood to the heart, the arteries go out to the body, the pancreas, and the urinary bladder. So there's more organs, and there's a lot more organ systems. This is all, we're going to go into a little bit more detail about some of them. So let's go to the brain. The brain controls all of the major functions of the body, and it's also where all of the nerves meet. So it's important to know how many things are packed into this brain. I do remember a time when I was trying to help with headaches, and I started studying the anatomy of the area where I was having it, and I felt like it was just like right behind the optic nerve, but it wasn't a migraine headache. And it was just something else, and I wanted to know how to help it. So I knew that the ear and nerve formula, which we'll learn more about by Dr. Christopher, the herbs that are in the ear and nerve formula help to feed the nervous system, and you can put it in the ears. You put it in by putting in garlic oil first. You always got to lubricate those ears first. Put a little bit of oil in there. And it needs to be a qualified ear oil. I like to use Wally's ear oil as well, or an E3 formula, or just straight garlic oil is great. So you put that in, and then you put the ear and nerve formula in, and I used to fill up my whole ear with it and put a cotton ball in there and just fall asleep. And I still remember my husband, he's like, "Would you wake up? The kids are crying." And I'm like, "Oh, it's your turn. I got this stuff in my ears and I am out." And it'll put you to sleep, and it'll help you stay asleep the whole night. It's great stuff. But it's repairing and helping. And after I looked up the anatomy, I noticed in different pictures that the optic nerve comes right through here like an X, and that the ear is so close to where the optic nerve is. I thought, if I just put that ear and nerve formula in here, it actually goes into right behind here. That ear canal goes straight in, and I knew that it was really close to where the eye and the optic nerve was going back. And I thought, wow, if that nutrition could just absorb into that area from the ear, that'd be great. And it did, and it took care of the problem for a long time. From time to time, I do the treatment again, and then I'm good for 6 months, sometimes a whole year. So it's important to learn anatomy so that you can think things through and devise your own method of healing through inspiration, through thinking, through just coming to your own conclusions. Your own brain can do a lot for you as you are going through your process of learning natural healing. Your heart, it's an organ which pumps blood around the body. It contains valves to control the direction of blood flow. And you'll also notice they always code it by a purple or blue. That's the blood that is coming back in, and the red, which is more oxygenated, is the blood going out. So the areas that are red are pumping to the arteries and out, and you have some major arteries like your brachial arteries. For those who have learned first aid and you know where to cut off by just pressure, cut off some of the blood flow so that if there's too much bleeding going on and you want to slow the bleeding, you can learn all of the major artery areas, the brachial being right here, jugular here, there's some other big ones under here, and you can slow the flow of blood to an area that's just bleeding way too fast for you to be able to stop the bleeding first. But you got to be careful doing that because as you learn in first aid, you still need to have blood flow to tissues if you want them to stay alive. So you don't want to cut it off, you don't want to tourniquet something unless you absolutely have to. And just having a knowledge of where all the arteries of the body are and where those pressure points are is very helpful. Go ahead and look that up online, and there's also information inside some of the books that I'll be suggesting later in the course. So circulation is life. I want to teach you something about iridology really quick. The outer ring right around the iris. The iris is that pretty part of your eye that shows the color of your eyes. If you have blue eyes, brown eyes, or darker eyes, or even a greenish hue, those eyes have this circle right around the iris. In that area of the circle, if you can see close enough with enough light, it'll actually show either haziness or clarity. Clarity means good circulation is pumping out. And then a good iridologist will look at the heart and its power and other elements like the adrenals as well, and try to pinpoint if it's hazy, why that circulation is not getting to the extremities, to the little capillaries, to the small parts in the body that need nourishment. And so circulation can be seen in the iris as to whether or not it's working at its optimum or whether it needs a little bit of help. Lungs. You have the windpipe, the actual lungs, and throat. The windpipe's a tube that joins the mouth to the lungs. And then the lungs, where oxygen enters the body, the lungs remove carbon dioxide from the blood, so it removes toxins from the blood. Now, when you're drinking soda pop, what's in it? Is it carbon dioxide or is it oxygen? Think about that. If you're drinking soda pop, I'm going to talk a lot about this during the course. Soda pop is the toxin that you're the CO2 that makes it all bubbly is what your lungs are constantly, every minute, trying to get out of your body, get out of your lungs. Why? Because CO2 actually acidifies the blood. And we'll be talking a lot about alkalizing the blood and nourishing it so that it stays very well in a pH balance. Don't drink soda pop. Just get off of it today. You don't need to be putting a whole bunch of toxic stuff into you. The throat takes food from the mouth to the stomach. And when you're eating a good balanced diet with all of the nutrition that your body and the elements of the body need, and that cute cell that we saw the picture of needs to be able to make its energy in the mitochondria and to move and to be happy in its sphere, and all the water that you need to drink for it to be happy, then you're looking at someone who's using their throat properly and is honoring their body and is honoring the blessing and the miracle of that body. It also takes education. I don't want to, during this course at all, say that anybody is bad for putting things into their mouth that perhaps I don't. Some of those things I did in the past. I don't want to be this to be any kind of a guilt session, and you shouldn't feel that way either. I want to teach you so that if this is going to bring you greater health and greater light, then you can go there. And I want you to be free in every way possible to either choose to use the things that have helped me, and if those things help you, great! That's exciting. If something else helps you and you know that that's the right way to go, that's awesome. What I'm going to challenge you to do is to really get in tune with the miracle of your body and then treat it like it's that miracle and give it everything it needs to be miraculous. And then you're good. So, learning more. Liver, it filters and processes the blood as it circulates. Just like the kidneys do. The kidneys take out toxins and it takes out especially extra salts and things. The liver metabolizes nutrients as well. It's really good, especially for your essential fatty acids and proteins. And it takes proteins and building blocks and it creates enzymes, and your liver enzymes drive chemical reactions that perform many vital functions. such as making blood clotting proteins, such as helping the pancreas to be able to make enzymes that help to digest, such as helping every vital organ in the whole body be able to synergize, to be able to, you know, it's what creates a catalyst for energy and supplies in the whole body. It's miraculous, just like the bloodstream. So let's talk about the body's systems. This is fun. I've got this poster, and hopefully you can see it here. This poster of the human body, I'm going to bring it closer. This poster of the human body is actually my kids', and I love it. It talks about the muscular system. So the muscular system of the body, just remember that when you flex, you're using calcium. When you unwind and relax, you're using mostly magnesium. Now that is super simplified. There's so many other intricate and miraculous things that take place in there. But if you just remember that if muscles aren't relaxing, if restless legs are there or other things, it could be a magnesium thing. And if the body is not getting enough calcium, it's going to start taking from the skeletal system in order to feed the functions of other systems like the muscles. And in the next course we'll be talking about catabolism and anabolism, which is where your body either builds or it tears down its own self in order to feed the life systems of that day. Muscular system, this is front, this is back, the skeletal system, and what do we have here? Lungs and digestive system. And then here are your senses. Taste. There's a lot of different areas of the tongue. You have the salty areas. You have the sour areas. You have bitter taste buds. That's why you have bitter aftertaste, because it's near the back of the tongue. You have all of your teeth that help you chew. You have your hard palate up here. And for those who have Martin's disease and their hard palate or their soft palates haven't fully developed and closed, either they're too high or sometimes there can be cleft palates. That's what they're talking about, is that this area didn't fully close, and it's just because the body in developing in the fetal state didn't finish its work and didn't finish the DNA directions that most human bodies do. It's not normally a terrible thing, but it can cause sort of a windy pattern in voice, and some things can get stuck in that area. Some people have had injuries and other things down the throat where food gets stuck in there, and I've actually had a lady come in and ask, can I heal this naturally? And we determined that there are times to seek doctors and surgery, especially when there's injuries or punctures that need to be repaired, and that there's also herbal helpers like a complete tissue and bone formula helps to feed the body so that it can repair. Touch. This is your sensory system. This is your nervous system. In fact, I think I've got... No, the nervous system's not on here, but it will be in the next class. Your sensory system has to do with your relationship with the world around you. And everything that you touch and sense with your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your taste buds, and that you hear with your auditory system, all of these things are how you relate to the world around you. So, your arteries carry blood away from the heart, veins carry them towards the heart. Capillaries are the tiny blood vessels that carry the blood to the individual cells. Your body as a whole functions, just reviewing everything here, your body as a whole functions with all of these intricate parts. So when you take all of these different systems and put them together as a whole, your spirit and body work synergistically together. Each system works synergistically together, and there's nothing more fascinating in science than studying the human body. I highly recommend getting a great book on anatomy, and I'd like to show you the book that I use. The book I use is very easy. This is something that I got. It's called The Human Body in Health and Disease, and many of the pictures that we have in this come from here. The Human Body in Health and Disease has a large number of explanations, and between this book, The Human Body in Health and Disease, and Prescriptions for Nutritional Healing, I'll show you in coming classes how to use those two as references. So when you're trying to create vibrant health, it's important to know anatomy. When you're trying to create a healing situation, let's say there's a disease in the body and you want to improve it, you really need to learn what laws, patterns, and things are already in place in the body. You want to learn the structure, you want to learn the anatomy, you want to learn the biochemistry of it. And this book really goes into a lot of that. And I love the fact that this book goes into a lot of that. In just a minute, I'm going to read to you about homeostasis, in fact. And we'll go there in just a minute. So, the union of body and spirit. Cleon Skousen, one of my heroes, if you know of his works, he wrote The Making of America, 5,000 Year Leap. Every time that I get gung-ho on my love for our country, I go to his books. And he has a fabulous article that I recommend. And in this article, I'll read you this quote. The article is The Building Blocks of the Universe. And his son-in-law, Glenn Kimber, actually sent me this article when I was wondering more about the body and more about healing. I thought, there's just got to be more on a spiritual level with those. So, in a sense, the enlargement of an intelligence is an awakening process. It is one of self-realization. This marvelous phenomenon is possible because the intelligence has certain inherent qualities. It not only knows it exists, but it can observe, remember, associate previous observations and experiences. It can imagine, idealize, think creatively, design creatively, and most remarkably of all, express a wholly independent discrimination by manifesting a will to act or not to act. And the word discrimination here is used more accurately, I guess, with discerning. You're able to discern whether it's a situation where you want to act or not to act. So, on to homeostasis. This is in page 6. Some of you have this book. Some of you have gone through the Master Herbalist program, and you're coming here to learn more. Or you're coming here to learn more and then go on to the Master Herbalist program. So homeostasis, normal body function maintains a state of internal balance, an important characteristic of all living things. Such conditions as body temperature, think of a thermostat. Every time I go to my thermostat, I'm like, it's cold in here. And my husband's like, are you kidding me? It's hot in here. Yeah, the differences between men and women in their homeostasis, that is a whole section for marriage therapy, right? Your body temperature is like a thermostat, and when your temperature internally goes down, you do have a thermostat. Your thermostat is in the brain, in fact, and homeostasis is taken care of with the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the feedback systems there, and there's other glands like the pineal that are in there. So, such conditions as body temperature, the composition of body fluids, even your fluid balance. Whenever you're thirsty, obey. Take some water. You should be drinking some water every hour in order for your hormones and everything to stay in a natural homeostatic state, in balance, in other words. And your hormones and the body's system will be much happier, and you'll experience a lot less stress in your life just by having a water bottle where you drink every hour. And it just has to be a little bit. I mean, even a few sips every hour is great. But you do need to have a minimum of 8 ounce glasses a day, which is 64 ounces, which is a half gallon. And I would suggest going for more. And more importantly, have your electrolytes added to that water, especially when you go closer to a gallon. It's a great idea to take maybe a distilled water or an alkalized water already. And then you can put natural minerals into the distilled water. We'll talk about water a little bit more. So your heart rate, your respiration rate, your blood pressure, and everything have to be kept within limits. Do you know that your blood's pH is so sensitive, and your temperature is so sensitive, and your electrolytes are so sensitive that if you even go just a tiny bit off, it can get you hospitalized. You can be dizzy. You won't be able to, be able to walk around like you usually do. You go for a hike and you get a heat stroke, it messes up your homeostasis, and that's what's going on. So keep in mind, homeostasis is very important in maintaining your constant daily health and your minute-to-minute health. If somebody passes out, you know that homeostasis is usually being messed with somehow. Homeostatic imbalances, when feedback fails, your body can have all the materials it needs. You can be drinking all the water you need, you can be drinking or taking all the nutrition that you need. And if your thermostat is messed up, you need to call somebody in to get that thermostat checked in your home if it's not working right. Otherwise, even if you set it to the perfect temperature, it's going to be off the charts one way or the other. You'll be too hot or too freezing. Your thyroid actually helps with its feedback system for homeostasis with your temperature. And I learned that with my hypothyroid conditions that I've been helping and nourishing and trying to what we call ameliorate or help it get better. It regulates the body temperature. So what did I do? I took my temperature first thing in the morning, and if it was around 97 degrees, which it was, then I knew that something was messed up with the feedback system. And I'm going like this because between up here in the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, and here in the thyroid, which is a butterfly-shaped gland right inside the throat here, all of that feedback causes either proper temperature, homeostasis, or the opposite, right? It doesn't feel good to be out of whack, and depression can actually be a result of just a thyroid imbalance. You also have parathyroids. They're little dots, 1, 2 in the back of the neck, 3 in the back of the neck, 4, and those maintain homeostasis of your calcium. Your vitamin D plays a vital role in that, and your calcium intake also plays a vital role in that. And your body will react differently, and that is one of these glands, these parathyroids, these little dots in the 4 corners of the bottom of your neck, are so key to your bone health that you need to make sure there's homeostasis there, not only with the feedback system, but also with your intake of food that has enough calcium, your exposure to the sun, be it proper, be it healthy, and be it enough to maintain a vitamin D level. If you have kidney issues like I do, your kidneys are supposed to transform vitamin D into an active phase that then the parathyroids use to help regulate calcium in the blood. if any of that is messed up, you probably have some bone health issues. Bone mass goes down. Or you can get deposits and things like that going the other way, where you have spurs and things. That can also be the wrong kind of calcium that you've taken in your body. Your body doesn't know what to do with it, so it tosses it into spurs. So there's a lot of things to consider there. Your fluid balance is of most importance. Our bodies are composed of large amounts of fluid. The amount and composition of these fluids must be regulated at all times. I highly encourage you to bring some water everywhere you go. And I'm going to try and make you thirsty right now so that you'll go get some. Again, if you're drinking some every hour, it's very good for you. So one type of fluid bathes the cells, carries nutrients and the substances to and from the cells, and transports the nutrients into and out of the cells. This is extracellular fluid, meaning fluid that's outside of the cell. I'll show you some pictures next time. Because it includes all body fluids outside the cell. Examples of extracellular fluids are blood and lymph, and the fluid between the cells in the tissues, interstitial fluid. A second type of fluid, intracellular fluid, is contained within the cells. Extracellular and intracellular fluids account for about 60% of an adult body's weight. Body fluids are discussed in more detail later. So you'll hear a little bit more, but I want to teach you about water. And today's challenge for your health is to start drinking enough water. I want you to do a little bit of math, and I want you to take your own body weight and to configure, like I weigh right now around 150 pounds, and so I would need 150 ounces of water in order to bathe my tissues and be at that 60 to 70% of water where I'm at my optimum. You can do that as well. If you have half that amount, you're not going to cleanse as much as your body wants to, but you may be getting enough, to maintain life. Your body has about 5 quarts of blood in it for most adults, and if you are not taking that amount, which 150 ounces, let's see, a gallon is 128 ounces, so 150 ounces is closer to the 5 quarts. If you are basically replacing your blood every single day, which your body is pumping your whole bloodstream many, many times around and around, and it has the potential to be cleansed by the liver, by the kidneys, by the lymphatic system, by everything that will take the toxins out. And if you're drinking the right kind of pure water, it will also help with cleaning those out. You also need to keep in mind homeostasis here, right? You don't want to dilute your electrolytes. So a little bit of a story there. My husband was taking care of my son who was throwing up constantly. He had some kind of stomach flu, we thought, and it turned out that he had a bowel blockage in the end. But what happened that caused him to have to go to the hospital to get fluids was my husband just gave him straight water, and he wasn't eating anything else. Normally you have a lot of salt in your food or nutrients in your food that help to create electrolytes. Or you can give your kids Pedialyte. It's just, it has a lot of high fructose corn syrup in it, so we don't have it around our house. Instead, I've got minerals, and my husband didn't think about putting the minerals in, and I forgot to tell him. So by the end of his illness, of not taking food in and just having water, and he kept throwing up water. Throwing up, by the way, and diarrhea, by the way, both of those will rid the body of tons of electrolytes and imbalance you very quickly. Be careful, you don't want to get there. If that's happening, replace your electrolytes. If you're drinking lots of water, if I drink 150 ounces a day, I'm putting minerals into my water so that I'm not only cleansing my system, but I'm also replenishing those electrolytes. Your electrolytes are very important. And Dr. Young's writings, we'll learn some more about that as we get deeper into your workbooks, and it's actually written in your workbooks. So just keep that in mind with homeostasis. Your eliminative channels need to be cleansed constantly. It's a good idea once a quarter to do an all-over body cleanse, and I would highly recommend either Dr. Christopher's cleanse, which is the extended herbal cleanse, and there's directions online, and I have reference in your workbooks on how to get those products and to follow the directions, or the Arise and Shine cleanse, or Dr. Robert Young's products and his cleanses. They actually have a couple. Just putting in a little plug for Dr. Young's products. If you go on phmiracleliving.com, they have a couple that runs a cleanse, and it's this big fun group cleanse, and they all send out all of the products that you're cleansing with, and they help you as a support group as you're doing it, and it's a great thing. They do it at the beginning of the year. They've already started, and they'll do another one very soon here. Keep your eliminative channels clean. So as you're going to notice in your books, and this is going to be part of your testing when you go in, your eliminative channels are the skin, which is your largest organ of the body. The surface area on your skin is amazing. It just covers so much square footage, I guess you would say, or square inches. And if nothing else in the body is detoxing properly, you'll notice that it comes out the skin. When my husband was feeding all that water to my son, and then when my son went into the hospital, he further progressed downhill, and we knew it because he had these circular, almost like seashell, kind of a little swirly, whole bunch of swirlies all over his skin. And the doctors were saying, oh, it's just some kind of virus, and it's this and that. Well, there's more to that. The body was detoxing, and I knew it, and I could see that. The skin, as an eliminative system, is going to show you when the other organs in the body aren't able to do their job. And then your job is to figure out why and fix it. So as I'm in the hospital, just praying for inspiration, I kept feeling, your son has a bowel blockage. It came to learn that my mother gets kinks in her digestive system, and it's a tension thing, and it's a hereditary thing, but it's also an emotional thing. And this was happening to my son, and that kink in the digestive system was making it so that as he was throwing up, green bile was coming up, and diarrhea was coming out the other way. Sorry if this is gross for you. We'll be talking about the body systems this whole time. I just knew that it was true that he had some kind of a bowel blockage, and the doctors couldn't find anything, but I persisted. And when they told me, okay, you can't give him anything that's going to upset his electrolytes, because he's in the hospital for electrolyte therapy and IVs, so that he doesn't go out of balance. Because you can go into seizures or organs can shut down. Don't go there. You need the hospital if you go out of balance. Just don't get to a point where you are out of balance, especially in emergency times. Prevent it. And if you prevent it, you'll save $25,000, because that's how much it costs for 4 days in the hospital for my son. Very easy to prevent it. So I noticed the skin is detoxing. Something like the bowel is not detoxing properly, and it's coming out the skin. So back to the electrolytes. The doctor said, don't give him anything to detox that's going to imbalance his electrolytes. It came to me. Aloe vera juice helps to relax, open up the system, the digestive system. It's high in potassium, high in sodium, high in electrolyte material. So I went down and knew exactly which brand to get him, had my mom give it to him. He was out of the hospital that night. We gave him an adult dose, and I knew that it would help, and it did. And when his electrolytes were registered, they almost immediately returned to balance as soon as he got the aloe vera juice. His digestive system opened up, and because of that, notice this with children, when they feel better, because of that, he started eating again. His body, his spirit knows. If they stop eating, there's a reason. Listen to that and figure out why and help them. The body's usually not doing something wrong. It's usually sending you a signal to help it with something else that is going wrong, and it needs it fixed to move on and to do what it does well, which is to maintain homeostasis, to maintain a vibrance of life, and also a resilience to disease and a resilience to the stresses that it's exposed to as it repairs during the night. The last system that I didn't talk about in here is I just want to add it. You've probably heard of the stress hormones, corticosteroids and things like that, and your adrenals and other things that get drained. You have a sympathetic system and a parasympathetic system. When you notice that the eyes are dilated, you're looking at a sympathetic system. Your tiger comes into the room. If you've learned that a tiger is going to hurt you, sympathetic system, fight or flight. I'm a fighter. I mean, as soon as that goes on, my fists go up and I'm ready to fight, or I'm ready to outsmart somebody so I can run. But I get the strategy on and I get the fighting on immediately, and those hormones tear down the body. But it's okay. Your body is resilient and it needs those hormones. It helps you stay alive. It also helps you have enough energy, and you have a cycle of your adrenaline during the day, where it goes up during the day and gives you lots of energy, and then it goes down. And when your adrenaline goes down, that's usually when you get tired and sleepy at night and you're able to go to sleep. And when you just deep breathe and calm, you can bring yourself out of sympathetic and into parasympathetic. And parasympathetic is the repairing side. While you sleep, your whole body is systematically going through its clock system, and it's repairing everything according to that schedule. And the earlier you get to bed, people who, for instance, get to bed around 8 o'clock at night can maximize their healing, because your body will start its healing process. And all of the healing that happens before midnight is exponentially more beneficial to you. You'll notice some people have said your sleep time before midnight is worth 2 hours. Every hour is worth 2 hours. So if you went to bed at 8, from 8 to midnight, it's almost like you already got 8 hours of sleep. But most people don't feel great at midnight and they don't get up at that time. I'm just saying, if you're trying to repair, if you're trying to help with the resilience of your body, go to bed earlier. And then if you have more work that you have to do, you'll notice those early morning hours, like 5 or 6 a.m. are going to be more productive after you've had all of that parasympathetic mode sleep. It's wonderful. So thank you for attending this. We're going to talk about digestion basics next time. And just to close, understanding disease. I highly recommend reading The pH Miracle by Dr. Robert Young. He is fascinating in all of the scientific research that he's done. And in this book, he says physiological disease and dis-ease. He takes the word D-I-S and E-A-S-E and makes dis-ease out of disease, are almost always the result of what? We're going to talk about this whole quarter. Too much acid stressing the body's pH. To a point where it provokes the body, it provokes the body into producing the symptoms that we call disease. So what can cause acids? We'll talk about it more, but in general, stress, being in a sympathetic mode, causes acids. Exercising to the point where you've got maybe way too much lactic acid, you're going to need to help it come down and cleanse that out, because that's stressing it to a point where it becomes over acid temporarily. but exercise actually helps to take the acids out of the sweat. Alkalizing with lots and lots of vegetables, lots of whole foods and wholesome foods. Lots of alkaline water is the best. If you can get a Kangen water machine, or even better, Dr. Young on his pH Miracle Living website has an alkalizing ionizer that is much less expensive. It's just under $700 rather than $4,000 for alkaline water. One of the best things you'll ever invest in is that. It'll put lots of energy and alkaline material into your body. Otherwise, you can take your water and put minerals in it. And then we'll go into understanding disease more. This is the happy and healthy cell, and in the next class we'll talk about what creates the diabetic blood and the chronic disease blood. School of Health Freedom, aren't you excited you're enrolled? We're learning so many great things. I look forward to seeing you next week, and hey, we're excited.